Making a video. Actually, erased a video, which I don't do too often. I ended up watching some lecture, Stanford lecture on chaos and reductionism. But there was no way to respond to it, really. It was that guy, AVE Automatic or something. Very annoying asshole. I did block him last week, but I didn't realize he sent me a PM before I blocked him. Anyway, saying I should somehow address this chaos crap, and it's just crap. It doesn't have any meaning. It's not relevant to the reductionism we use, and it certainly doesn't prove the existence of anything truly chaotic. It just proves the limitations of math. That's it. Math that doesn't go to enough decimal places, and how that can get you in trouble. And that's something I've argued all along. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't want to get into that. So anyway, there's a couple of I was saying, okay, no video today, maybe. Except for one I did in the morning. Still feeling kind of crappy. I was so good yesterday. I'm just so crappy today. Anyway, what the hell was that, please? So Conference Report made a video on this one crap. And then Anna Conavad was making a simple video about how it's probably better to chase things than to run away from things. So if you're going to try to change yourself, it would be best to try to change yourself by saying, I want, rather than saying, I don't like. I would argue, I don't know, whipped carrot. It depends on the circumstance, right? It depends on how important it is. Because obviously sometimes you just say it ain't worth the carrot. You just say the prize isn't worth it. I don't want to buy the lottery ticket, You just say no. And that doesn't get the job done. So, obviously sometimes the whip is a little better at getting the job done. So I don't think he has any statistics or anything to back up anything he postulates. So let's just say that video, forget it, it's not relevant to this shit anyway. So anyway, Conference Report is doing is on the Hill. And let's all talk about what we feel when we hear a number or see a number. And sure, that's okay. I don't know where you draw the line on that much being meaningful. I'll give you my rundown. See, I was a twin, so for me, the number 1 just didn't work because, as in my youth, as a little kid, my sister was really important to me, so it was a 2 thing. 2 was everything to me. 1 was, there was like 1 bug, and there was 1 rabbit, and there was 1 cat. So 1 was things you labeled outside. I never thought of oneness because I sort of shared my oneness, and so there was no oneness. It wasn't relevant to me. And that was funny that other numbers kind of went the same way. I thought about like the number 3. I had 3 sisters. 4 was there was 4 kids in the family. 5 was the weird number, right? 5 was what the family was without me. So that sort of implies my separation in the sense that sometimes I felt isolated and distant. And so, 5 was like the world without me. And so it was it was an odd number too. And odd numbers meant something more to me than even numbers. I was always more connected to odd numbers than even numbers for whatever reason. And then 6 was just the total number in the family kind of thing. So that's kind of how my brain associated the dice and the perception of a number. So anyway, just getting that out of the way, which is totally meaningless, right? I think the more important conversation is sort of indicated by Matt, who used the word orientation a lot. And I thought that was a great word. Because we have things like sexual orientation. But, whoa, I almost fell backwards, which is not a good idea. Cracked skull and such. I'm doing this every now and then. You say, you're not going to live long doing that, shithead. I got to be more careful and such, getting old and such. Whatever. I'm just getting tired, and so I just don't care. Getting lazy, and how I live my life. Very lazy. Anyway, just not much enthusiasm. So where was I? Orientation. Yeah, so it's an interesting word. Because we have this orientation to the world. So that's sort of what Conference Report was talking about, is our mechanical or biological or feeling orientation to the world. And I think that's the more important thing. That highlights our bigotries. We have these huge bigotries. I've brought this up before, but we have this perception we live with our whole life regarding words like love and even words like life itself, the word life. I think people do kind of make the word in their brain, it's a puffy word, made out of clouds with butterflies and birds tweeting and such. And, as you mature and as you start really thinking about it, something I hadn't done, until recently, actually thinking about what I think when I hear the word life. But yeah, now it's a much more clinical, harsh, sterile, cold, stainless steel kind of, clean the bacteria off of it because it's going to get dirty so easily. Life is a horridly messy thing, and you can't really, I can't write it in anything but geometric hard numbers now because it's hard and difficult and nasty and sharp and unyielding and unforgiving and unnice. It's rude to beauty. I don't see it as an ugly word, but I just see it as this mechanical kind of word now. Yeah, that's a good word for it. Because evolution is so mechanical. The process is all so mechanical. And life has become very mechanical in my perception. My feeling towards the word is quite hostile. Likewise, I've never really had the word human, always, as far as back as I can remember anyway. I didn't care for much. Didn't like the sound of it, didn't like the look of it, and I certainly didn't like being one of them because I didn't have much respect for the thems of the world. Frankly, my friends were always my inferiors. Yeah, that's a bold thing to say, but it tended to be that people would be my friend. I wouldn't go looking to be somebody else's friend, so I didn't go try to be some cool guy's friend. And so, I just kind of befriended losers and failures and bums and creeps and idiots and morons. Fuck-ups, generally speaking, because they would sort of come to me in a way. And I'd also find them more interesting in terms of their fixability. I always found fixing things to be an appealing it always seemed to kind of attract me. If something was old and dilapidated and looked broken, well, that was appealing to me because it looked like I could do something with that. There was a function for me there, where if something was new and clean and pristine, it's not for me, because it doesn't need me. It doesn't need my services. And so I guess I was kind of thinking in terms of being a 7-Eleven of sorts. Even when I didn't have the philosophy to match that kind of perception, that kind of orientation to the world. But I did have a lack of respect for human, and that only grew stronger and stronger with every year that passed. Humans were more and more asshole. I would say that, when I was 10 and we landed on the moon, I did have a moment of pride and a sense of maybe humans can do it. Maybe they're going to be something after all. Look at that. They're singing a nice, lovely Coca-Cola commercial too. Well, that came a couple years later, but it all fit in to that period of time, those 2 years before I really went insane. Yeah, that's the weird part, right? These are the period from 9 to 13 that I was quite factually a basket case, and that's when my perceptions were trying to find, we're seeing more in the world, more value in the world than in myself. That might be part of the basket caseness, is that I sort of always kind of teetered on a line between am I wrong or is the world wrong? As a kid, I'd sit there and just contemplate that while melting crayons on the street. Does this make sense? Is this a place I should be? What is this place? Where the hell am I? That kind of thing. And you'd wonder, am I the thing not fitting in? Or is, the hurricane right and I'm wrong for finding it obnoxious. Because it just seemed like nature was so hostile and, again, unyielding, unforgiving. You can't reason with it. And it seems like most of the adults were like hurricanes, just as dumb as a stick. You couldn't talk to them. And so I just kept teetering on this line of who needs fixing. Is the world broken or am I broken? And I was definitely in the I'm broken mode in that little patch of time when the human race looked smarter than me, when it looked more competent and it looked like it was doing something. It was actually, somehow it all made more sense. And so I made less sense because I was anti-human in a way. I was the anti-human. Yeah, that's kind of, they should have called me like Damien or Damiuck or some kind of Damie name. Because I always had that kind of conflict thing. I was the anti-force in the room. If there was an anti-force in the room, it was me. If somebody had to fill that bill, I could do it. Because I was pretty anti. So anyway, back to this whole idea. So it was my orientation. And that certainly, in hindsight, you could see a direct path from that start to this ending ground. It makes perfectly good sense that this is where I'd end up, in that sense, because I already had a vision of it, and so now all I had to do was blow the dust off, blow the bullshit off, and you could see perfectly clearly that these are all false idols that the human race lives for. False words, false concepts, singularities. They just make up crap. They make up this idea of oneness. What does that mean? We all get in bed together and fart? What the fuck is that? What does that mean? How do I oneness with imbeciles? Why would I want to oneness with rapists and connivers and, whatever they call it, telemarketers, disgusting people. Yeah, doing disgusting things. Why would I want to oneness with them? I don't think I do. No, I'm pretty damn sure I don't want to have an orgy with most of the world. It's only a select few. Yeah, only the few, the proud, whatever, however the lingo goes. So I don't even get that whole concept. Everybody talks about it. It's like it's such an ambition to go climb up the human race's ass and, fly to the moon. It's like, no, I don't think so. I don't see it. I don't get it. So anyway, I guess I circled the word, well, I squared the word life, because I already got to that. But just words like survival. That word, to some people, it's this magnificent thing you do, this survival of the fittest, and you survived the tragedy. And to me, it's a word just covered in blood. It just drips. You write the word, and I can see the little blood drips off of it. It's just covered in blood. It's not necessarily an ugly word, but it's just a surgical, that's it. It's like almost it's like an organ, cut out of something. Survival. It's just the messiest, grossest, it's a cancer kind of thing. It's a blob of bloody yuck. Yeah, yuck. I like the human race. And then words like love, in the last 20 years or so, that one sort of reformed in my brain. There was a period where I might fall for it. I don't think I've ever said the words. I'm not quite sure. I love you. No, I don't think I have. Yeah, no, I don't think I have. Not since I was, 7. But yeah, it's, it just seems like a word. To me, it's always been tainted by this desire mechanism. you're, you know, it's so, you know, it's like I sort of consider dancing foreplay. Well, I consider love. It's just too much tied to erotic passion, and you can't really soil it with this silly kind of, I love my cat. You know, it just doesn't, can't use the same word for the romantic passion and, you know, the appreciation you gain for something, you know, the rooting for the underdog, you know, even giving Sisyphus a glass of water. You know, I wouldn't call it love because I love Sisyphus. No. You know, that kind of, you know, the sympathies you feel with things, the connection and empathy, you know, that kind of stuff. These aren't love concepts. They're not tainted by that kind of bias and bigotry. And so love is it's a very bigoted word for me. You know, going back to my teen years, I could see that. I could see how I was forming these prejudices. You know, girls had to conform, you know, to a certain standard of appearance. You know, and I could tell that, well, that's kind of bullshit. I mean, that girl's perfectly wonderful and sensitive and all that kind of crap, and, you know, so she weighs an extra 50 pounds, you know, but that mattered. And I knew it shouldn't have. I knew that if the word love meant anything, that 50 pounds shouldn't matter. So I knew the word didn't mean anything big. It meant something small-minded and something built out of the bug in me, not the best in me. So anyway, you know, so this word association stuff is, I think, useful. I don't know if number association is very useful, but what kind of emotions words provoke in you, what your orientation is, you know, whether you like a little dick in your vocabulary or pussy all the way, you know, that's sort of important. And it's important in how you're even capable of thinking, I think. But we certainly should understand those prejudices, I guess, is the key thing to agree on. That we can talk about our bigotries and why we find golden hair and blue eyes, and we can romanticize about how marvelous it is. But we can know that that's just a bigotry. It doesn't mean much. And that's kind of where we have to put that emotional crap. And when we talk about these very important words, these very important concepts of survival at what cost, love, through what filter, you know, singularity, yeah, that it matters. The truth is something other than what you feel it to be. The truth is grainier than the green. The truth has a much finer, exacting texture. We can't feel our philosophy. We have to do that as rationally as possible. Just the rule and such. So, I think that completes the video for today. Sun behind a cloud. Yeah, it's not as bad as it looks here. There's a cloudiness. It's one cloud. It'll go away and it'll look kind of nice, I think. Little robot out there doing its job. In the pool. Doesn't do a very good job though, it's getting old. I don't want to say that to its face, but yeah, it's really clunking. It looks like it's stalled. No, it's just stuck. It's struggling to get over the drain. I think it's one of its gear works is getting funky. So anyway, until next time.